this morning with my mind. Staying on Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind.
Hello everyone, Joey Sparks here. This is your reminder. God's mercies are new once again this morning. Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 4 represent a turning point in the book, and I would even argue are the theme verses of the book, because they are the solution to Paul's warnings and to the church at Colossians about the false teachers that you got in chapter 2. They are also the solution to how they are to live, as you see in the rest of chapter 3. So these verses are incredibly important, and they are especially in contrast to how he closes chapter 2. He says, don't let people control you with laws, basically. And you can have right legalistic laws, you can have left mystic kind of laws and regulations, but the true solution is always Christ. And that attempts to create laws and attempts to get into what's called asceticism, they're all from the selfish indulgences. They're all from self-made religion, he calls them. And they do not have any value at stopping the flesh. That's an important phrase. All these man-made attempts to control behavior are ineffective. But what is effective? What is godly? Well, chapter 3, verse 1. If then you have been raised with Christ, if God has made this change in you when you were baptized into Christ, 2 verse 12, if you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on the things that are above, not on the things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, appears, you will also appear with him in glory. So you've got what God has done in your past, and you've got what you're anticipating in your future, and that makes all the difference. So don't just keep establishing a new law. It won't stop your behavior. Instead, keep setting your minds on the things that are above. So we set clocks, we set our watches, or we set our phones quite often. And one instance is when we go to bed at night, we set it for the next morning, an alarm clock. Why do we do that? Because there's a standard, there's a behavior, there's things that we need to be ready for, that we need to do. We can't just wake up whenever we wake up and get about today's business. And so we say, knowing the results and knowing what I want to do the next day, I'm going to set my clock. Well, similar here, setting our minds on things above. I want to live beyond the flesh. I want to live beyond this moment. I want to live for eternity. Well, I have to reach beyond this life into the things that are above. And so I set my mind there, and it guides my life there. And that means it puts off bad behaviors, worldly behaviors, fleshly behaviors, as you see throughout chapter 3. It affects my every relationship, as you see in the latter parts of chapter 3, my home with my spouse, my children. It affects my work relationship. So setting our minds is the key to following Christ when Christ has made a difference in us. We do thank you for your time this morning, and it's our prayer that the timeless Word of God will be your meditation all day long today.
I woke up this morning with my mind. Staying on Jesus.